Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and this time we're going to talk about factoring the GCF. So here are a couple things that as your teacher, we should know. Learning target, factoring algebraic expressions, the success criteria, identify the greatest common factor of terms, including the variable terms, use the distributive property to factor algebraic expressions, and finally, write a term as a product involving the given factors. For our ELL students, we need to support them by explaining that the word factor has a special meaning in math and everyday life. A factor is a circumstance that influences an outcome. Write the sentence on the board, teachers. She considers many factors before visiting her grandmother. And we're going to discuss those factors, what they may be. Then let's explain the math, what a factor is: a whole number other than zero when multiplied with another factor which makes a product. So that's the difference and support for ELL using factor. So here's a note that you should know. When factoring an expression, you write the expression as a product of factors. You can use the distributive property to factor any rational number from an expression. So the greatest common factor is our vocabulary word, GCF, the largest integer that divides evenly into each of a given set of numbers, often abbreviated as GCF or small GCF. For example, 6 is the GCF of 30 and 18. Sometimes GCF is written using parenthesis, parenthesis 30 comma 18, parenthesis equals 6. So in Spanish, there's a formula for factor form, and that's what we're going to deal with. Whereas you remember they said you're multiplying. It's a multiplication situation of factors here. So we're going to multiply. So let's get a little pen, and what we're multiplying, our form is going to be the GCF times what's left, and that's going to be the factored form. So let me give you an example of what we mean. So we want to factor out the GCF of 24x and 18. So we're looking first for the greatest common factor. So let's break this down by multiplication. I'm going to break this down to 6 times 4. Why did I pick 6 times 4? Well, I know 18 is 6 times 3. I also have an additional x here as well that's being multiplied by the 24. So let me just bring that down so I can see all the factors that I have listed using 6 and 4 times x. Now I'm looking for the C, common factor. So I know, first of all, that there are other factors like 8 times 3, 12 times 2. That'll work. I'm not going to use 1 because it's got to be greater than 1 as a factor, because 1 is an identity element. So those are numbers that I can use, but when I'm looking at 18, the factors are more than 6 times 3. You also have 9 times 2. I would say, again, 1 times 18, but it's got to be a factor greater than 1. So I'm looking at all of these factors, and I'm looking for what they have in C, common. I notice they have in common 6. They also have in common 3. And they also have in common 2. Those are all the factors, and we call them CFs. So 2, 3, and 6. So I want the greatest number out of all of those numbers, the GCF. The GCF would be 6. Why 6? Because it is the biggest number out of all of them. So you might remember that from 6th grade or 5th grade when you did GCF and LCM. So we're looking for the biggest number that can be multiplied out of all of them. So 6 would be my GCF. So I got the GCF, but I want to put it in factored form. So let me first erase this other stuff, so I don't need this here. So Let me select it and move it. So let me move that out of the way. Put it up here. All right. So I'm going to take the 6 and move it out. Erase it out of there. So I moved out the 6. So that's, I'm going to put here as my GCF. In the parenthesis, I'm going to put what's left. Well, what's left? Well, I got a 4x. 4 times x is 4x. And I have over here a 3. I have to bring down the sign. And there is my factored form. My GCF is the 6. My stuff that's left was the 4x for the first term, because 4 times x. And if I multiply that by checking it, or distributing, I would get 24x. And I have 6 times minus 3, that would give me minus 18. So my factored form would be 6 times 4 times x minus 3. That's what my factored form looks like. So I just factored using the greatest common factor form, and that's what we need to do. So I'm going to give you an example to look at it. See if you can figure out what's the GCF and write it in factored form. So here I got 4y minus 20. What would be the factors of 4? Remember, we don't want to use 1. So 2 times 2 and 4 times 1. So those are all the factors of 4. And don't forget, I have a times y. Now let's factor out the 20. 20 times 1, of course. And 10 times 2. 5 times 4. And is that it? I think that's it. So I have no variables to worry about. So let's circle what numbers they have in common. They definitely have a 2 in common. And I also see they have a 4 in common. So my common factors are 2 and 4. Now I'm looking for the biggest number that they have in common. My GCF, greatest common factor, would be 4. Why? Because it's bigger than 2, and it divides into those numbers real easily. So if I use the 4, so I'm going to use the bottom one right down here. So I'm going to scribble out this 4, put it here, scribble out this 4, and I'm going to see what's left. So let me remove this stuff. No, don't want to move that. I want to erase, so let me erase this stuff. Sorry for the delay. I just don't want you to see the stuff that we don't need. Okay. Okay. So, let's clean that 4 a little bit. Okay, much better. All right, so I removed the 4, and what do I have left? I have parenthesis. I got to put in what's left. I got a 1 little y. 1y. I don't have to write the 1, by the way. I have a 5, and now I got to bring down the symbol, the sign that's in the middle, which is a minus sign. So there's my factored form, and I can check it to see if it's correct when I multiply it back out. So 4 times 1, y is 4y, and 4 times minus 5 is minus 20. So it does check out, so it lets me know that this is my answer in factored form. So we are learning how to factor. My GCF, I found that was 4, and in factored form is 4 times y. Notice I didn't include the 1, but you don't have to if you don't want to, minus 5. So there is our factored form. So here's one for you. See if you can figure it out. Stop the video, pause it for a few seconds, and see if you can figure out what's the GCF, and then write it in factored form. Okay, what'd you get for the GCF? If you said 12, you're correct. So 12 times 3, don't forget times the letter C, and 12 times 2. And don't forget times the letter D. So 12 is the biggest number that they have in common. So I'll put that out here. And draw my other parenthesis. And let's see what's left. What's left? I got a 3C on this side, and I have a 2D on this side, and I'm going to bring down the sign in the middle, which is plus. So there's my factored form. If I check it, take a second to check it. 12 times 3 is 36. Don't forget the C. 12 times plus 2 is plus 24. And don't forget the D. And that's what we started with. So we know our factored form is 12 times 3C plus 2D. Nice job if you got that as your factored form. So I hope you understand what's going on. If you're not sure, write down your questions and we'll bring them in tomorrow and hopefully answer them for you. Here's an interesting one. Now we're going to go with some fractions. So 1/2 x plus 3/2. All right, let's look at the GCF. So we're dealing with fractions. How do you want to deal with fractions, Dr. Rob? Do you want to deal with them as fractions? Or you can take your 1/2, change it into a decimal, 0.5, and you got a improper fraction, that'll be 1.5. So you can change it to a decimal if you want, or you can deal with it as a fraction. I'm going to deal with it as a fraction, just to show you we don't have to be afraid of fractions. So here I'm going to factor 1/2. 1/2 times 1. Now, again, I'm going to break this down by multiplication. So this is 3/2. So that'd be 3 of them. 3 times 1/2. So I'm multiplying. 3 times 1/2. So that would give us 3/2. You remember my video on multiplying whole numbers and fractions, top times top, and change your 3 into a fraction by putting a 1 in underneath it. 1 times 2, that would give you the fraction 3/2. So we have our common denominator, our greatest common factor, which is 1/2. They both have 1/2 in common, so our GCF is 1/2. So I'm going to put that on the outside here. Put my, oh, and don't forget I have an X also to bring that down. So I'm going to rub out the 1/2 and see what's left. On this side, I have one little X. On this side, I have a 3. And I got to bring down the plus sign. So let's bring that down. And there's my factored form. 1/2 times one little x plus 3. And I can check it by doing the distributive property of multiplication. 1/2 times one little x is 1/2 x. And 1/2 times 3 would be top times top, 3. And 2 times the bottom little 1, you can put a little 1 underneath that. That will give us 2, which is what we started with at the beginning. So our answer of 1/2 times x plus 3 is correct. So we're factoring with fractions. Here's one for you. See if you can find the GCF of this one. Hopefully this one's straightforward. It's a lot like the other one. We're using 1/2 again. So you should be able to figure that out and put it in factored form. Oh, here's an interesting one. Factor out the GCF. So we have 3/4 P minus 3/2. So you may again want to change it into decimals if you feel like it. And I'm going to do that this time. 3/4. Divide the top number by the bottom number, or 3/4. That should be pretty straightforward. 375. And 3 halves, 3 divided by 2 is 1.50. So, so we really have 0.75p minus 1.50. So let's factor this down. So I notice 0.75 times 1 times p. And this will be also 7.75 times 2. So I notice that 75 cents is the common denominator, greatest common factor. So I have that as my GCF. So my GCF is equal to 0.75. I'm going to rub that out and put that down here, 0.75, and rub this one out. And what do I see what I have left? Let's put parentheses around there. So I have one little p left. I have one little p left, 1p. Over here I have a 2, and I'm going to bring down the minus sign and put it in the middle. So there's my answer, 0.75 parenthesis 1p minus 2. And if I distribute that, .75 times one little p will be 0.75p. And 2 times 75 cents is $1.50. And that's what I started with at the very beginning. So my answer of 0.75 parenthesis 1p minus 2 is my factored form. Now if you notice 0.75 is 3/4 because I have it up there, 75 cents. And 2 times 0.75. Let me write that out because let me multiply 0.75 times 2. You won't believe this. When you have 75 cents 2 times, I'm going to show you. It's $1.50 because you may not believe it. We haven't multiplied decimals in a long time. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, carry the 1. 0 times 2 is 0, plus 1 is 1. There are 2 numbers behind the decimal point. There's my $1.50. Now, you may like dealing with decimals a lot easier, but fractions are also just as good. Now, my GCF is 3/4, so let me clear this, if you don't mind, and show you how to deal with it if you were dealing with a fraction. Now, 3/4 times p. Now, I would get look for a common denominator for this one. 3/4 is one way of looking at it for that side. But here I got 3 times 1/2. So I'm going to look at the 1/2 and deal with that a little bit. I want to just change that to fourths. So 1/2, if I wanted to make that fourths, I would multiply the top and bottom by 2. That would give me 2/4. So I would have 3 times 2/4, really. And just to clean this up a little bit more, 3 times 2/4 would give me 6/4. 6/4. And if I want to just show you what 6/4 is really, I can say that would be 3/4 plus 3/4, or I could say 2 times 3/4. So now I can see where the common denominator is. Let me clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to say 2 times 3/4. So now I have my common fraction, or GCF, which would be 3/4. So let me put that down there. And rub out the 3/4 here, rub out the 3/4 here. See what I got left? I have a P left on this side, and I have a 2 left on this side, and bring down the minus sign, and there you have it one more time using fractions. And if I multiply it out, that'll give us what I started with as well. So now I have done it both ways with decimals and fractions. So hopefully you're getting this. So I hope you understand what's going on. And if not, write down your questions and write it and bring them into class. Here we got another one. This time we have a negative number with the P. So we got to factor that out. So it should be no problem. Let's write down the factors. So -1 times 4, or 1 times -4, 2 times -2, or which is -2 times 2. So there are factors. Let me list out this factor. 1 times 10, -1 times -10, 2 times 5, -2 times -5. And let's see, do I got anything else? I think I've listed all my factors. All right, so what do they have in common? Let's start circling those things. So they have a -1 in common, but we don't want to deal with the ones because that's just going to give us an identity element. What else do they have in common? I see they have a 2 in common. Hey, they also have a -2 in common. So my common factors are, sorry, I didn't mean to write an F, I meant to write an equal sign. My common factors are, and I also have 1, of course, but I don't want 1. -1, 2, and -2. So the greatest common factor of that one would be -2. 2. So let's circle that. So that would be -2. So I'm gonna factor out -2 from that. All right, so let's see. Let's color this out. Let's color this one out. And I'm gonna have -2 times that. Let's see, 2 times 2. And I'm sorry, I got a P also, a letter P there. So let's take 2 times P. So that's what we have left. So we have a 2 and a P. And we have, on this side, we have a -5. And I could put a plus sign in between by bringing that down, but I'm not because I already have a minus sign there. You don't want to put a plus and negative sign together. So let's see what we got. 2 times, -2 times 2 is -4, P. -2 times -5 is same signs as positive. There's your +10. So we have done this one also very well. That was a little difficult because you had a negative sign there. So our GCF was -2. Our factored form was, oops, yeah, factored form was -2 parenthesis p minus 5. All right, so that one was a little tough because we had a negative number, but hey, no problem. We just list all of our factors that will give us that and circle the ones that will give us that. Our greatest common factor will be the -2 in this case that they had in common. So, and I know you might have saw the two there as well. Two would be the biggest number, but unfortunately, if you multiply by two, it wouldn't have given you the negative. Your negative would have been on the inside. We wanted to factor out the negative in this case. Cute question. All right, here's one for you. See if you can factor out the GCF and find what's the GCF, greatest common number, that can go into this. Here's another one with the letter K. This one has a negative in the middle. Let's play with that one for a minute. So let's list out what times what. So 1 times 8, and one of them's got to be negative because that's negative. Or I could have -1 times +8, 2, and I do want to try to avoid 1, by the way. 2 times -4, or -2 times +4, and I think that's it for that. And don't forget, I got to multiply that by the letter K, so I got a K there. On this part, I got 12, so 1 times -12, -1 times +12, and I got 2 times -6, -2 times +6, 3 times -4, and -3 times +4. There are all of our ones that we have in common. Let's circle our common factors in order to help us find the GCF. So what do they have in common? And again, I try to avoid 1 because 1 is just the identity element. But I'll look at -1. There's a -1 they have in common. Um, they have a 2 in common. Do they have a 4? They have a 4 in common, +4. And they also have a -4 in common, -4. So let's list them out. So we got -1, we got 2, we got 4, and -4. +4 and -4. So the greatest one would be +4, but we want to keep we want to factor out a negative in this case. So let's factor out the -4. So I want to factor out the -4. So that'll be this one. So let me rub out a few of these. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so here is the one we're going to deal with. We want the negative. Pull that up a little bit. And let's clean that up a little bit. Over there. All right, so what do we got here? So we're factoring out the -4, so let's rub that out. -4, put that down there, rub that out. -4 is gone. Let's draw a parenthesis and see what's in there. So we have a 2 left and a K on this side, so 2 and a K. And on this side we have a 3. And here's our sign in the middle, which is minus. And no minus. So I'm going to leave the minus sign out. So, because I think when I factored it as minus negative 12 instead of that. So I'm going to leave that out, that minus out. Sorry, I'm not going to bring this minus down. When I factored it as minus 12. So I'm going to make this positive 3. There we go. All right, so tiring. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 4 times with k, forget that. And now let's do negative 4 times positive 3 is negative 12. And that is what we started with. So our factored form will be negative 4 times 2k plus 3. So our GCF, we found out we were factoring was negative 4. So we wanted to factor out the negative. And in factored form, we have negative 4 parenthesis 2k plus 3. There's our factored form. Man, it's a lot of work. So I hope you're enjoying the show. I have an extra credit question for you. It's not as bad as the other stuff. So which expression makes the equation true for all values of x? So pick one of these and try to figure out 16x minus 16 equals 4, and what's the inside fact stuff that was left over after you factored this. So this is a nice challenge problem for extra credit. So see if you can figure it out. Got it from one of the state tests. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, there's a Dial a Teacher Homework Helpline at 212-777-3380, Monday to Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Give them a call. They're very nice people. If you want to see more of my study videos, I'm on YouTube. My channel is Dan Robinson. Subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing. Write us a comment to let us know what we can do better, and I do right back. Give us a thumbs up by subscribing to our channel. You help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. So give us a vote of confidence by subscribing to our channel, because we're almost to 1,000. So help us get there. Check out our latest release of the commercial, PKMS Math Prep 20. We're working on the video, so we'll get it to you soon. You can tweet me at drobmath1. Don't forget to watch our show Math Time on Tuesdays from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Optimum Cable Vision, only in Peekskill on Channel 15. If you want to study with me, if you want more questions like the one we got just a minute ago, I have worksheets for you. You can write me at robinsonmath@aol.com. I'll be glad to send you something. Look for Math Prep 20 coming to YouTube real soon. So that's it for today. We've come down to the end. Great show, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.